What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite players in the league, James Harden, and what I've been seeing from him throughout the first week of the season, and what I think has been causing some of the struggles that he's been having. So let's get right into it. So, if you guys have been keeping up with basketball lately, especially the Brooklyn Nets, you'll know that James Harden really hasn't been playing like James Harden. Like he's just not been playing to the same level that he has since he's played on the Rockets pretty much. Since he went to started off on the Thunder, sixth man of the year, took his talents to Houston, got traded there, and took over the NBA pretty much. Like he was one of the top scorers in the NBA every single year since he got traded to the Rockets. He's just completely taken over the league. I think he could have made it to the NBA Finals when he was on the Rockets, when he had CP3. If CP3 didn't get hurt in that series against the Warriors, I think they would have made the finals. Maybe might have won it against the Cavs that year, but that's a whole different conversation. But, yeah, James Harden just an absolutely dominant scorer. He averaged, I think, like 34, 35 points per game one year, maybe even 36, I forget exactly. But he has crazy scoring seasons. One of the greatest scorers of all time, can score it from all three levels, has is probably one of the most skilled players of all time in terms of his ability to get open, maneuver around the floor, get good shots. His entire scoring arsenal is just elite, and it's one of the best of all time, if not the best. And, you know, coming into the season, we all expected the same James Harden that we've seen the past decade. The dominant scorer, James Harden. But that's not what we've been getting so far. Currently, he's averaging 16.6 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. He's 60th in the NBA in points. He's tied for 55th in the NBA for rebounds. He's tied for 8th in the NBA for assists. And his PER is 15.17, which is the 133rd. He's 133 on that list in the NBA for PER. So he's not very efficient with the ball in his hands. He's still able to play make for his teammates and stuff. That's one bright spot that he's been having to start off the season. But when you have the talent around James Harden, when you have that talent around you, like it's pretty easy for you to give the ball to them and let them do their thing. So I kind of expected him to be high in assists. So it's when you have the guys around you that James Harden has, you're gonna get assists. So that's not really that big of a deal to me. But man, James Harden averaging 16.6 points is that's just so that's just not like James Harden at all. First game of the season against the Bucks, he put in his highest point total of the season so far with 20, then followed up with 20 points against Philly, then 15 points against Charlotte, 14 points against Washington, and then 14 points against Miami. And man, that's not what we're used to seeing from James. One game. Here, I'll read you guys the turnover totals for these games as well. Against the Bucks, he had 4 turnovers. Against the Sixers, 5 turnovers. Against the Hornets, 8 turnovers. Against the Wizards, 2 turnovers. And then last night against the Miami Heat, 4 turnovers. So, man, I don't think the last time Nets played. I'm not sure if it was last night. I don't think it was, but they played the Miami Heat, and James Harden had 4 turnovers that game, which is just like his turnover numbers are way too high. His numbers have been his turnover numbers have been pretty high over the course of his career, especially in Houston, because so much of the load was on him. So he had to handle the ball. He took a lot of, he had a lot of touches. So when you have a lot of touches, obviously, your turnover numbers are going to rise. You can't be perfect. So, his turnover numbers have never been great, but I don't know. It's just right now the turnovers that he's been getting, they're just they're just bad turnovers. Like, for example, there'll be times where, with the new rule change, James Harden trying to draw contact and stuff, he would pass it out of a shot, pass the ball out of a shot, stuff like that, and he would just turn the ball over because in the past James Harden really used his scoring ability and his skill set, to draw fouls. Drawing fouls is a skill. It really is. I truly believe that. And James Harden has mastered the art of drawing fouls. And with the new rule changes, it's a lot harder for him to get the calls that he's used to getting. So to start off the season, you see him a lot of times, pump faking, getting a little bit of contact and then shooting it. And the refs aren't calling it because of the new rules. And James Harden would look over at the refs and be like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you calling it? That's a foul. But he has to realize, like, the rules have changed. Like, you need to adjust your game a little bit. Like, he can't use his ability to draw fouls as much anymore. He can't rely on that skill anymore, that art anymore, because the refs might not call it. So he needs to find a way to still be productive without getting to the free throw line over 10, 20 times a game. For example, like, I'll read you guys his free throw numbers throughout the season so far. Um he took 4 free throws against the Bucks, 4 free throws against the Sixers, 1 free throw against the Hornets, 3 against the Wizards, and 3 against the Heat. Those are really low numbers compared to what we're used to seeing from him. Like, he used to get to the foul line way more than this. He used to get to the free throw line way more than this. But he's making his free throws. He only missed 1 free throw throughout the season so far, but his free throw attempts are just not where they used to be. So I watched a video on First Take. Jay Williams was talking about James Harden and what his problems are, and what Jay said I find really interesting. He said that James Harden, he is a bully on the court. The way James Harden plays on the court, he's a bully. He needs to find a way to become a bully again. That's what Jay Williams said, and I completely agree. Because, in the past, like, it was just so bad for the defender. It was just such a tough assignment for a defender to guard James Harden. James Harden would terrorize his opponents, his defender. Not just because of how well he can score, but because when he starts to heat up and the defender starts playing more aggressive, James can use the defender's aggressiveness against him and get to the foul line. So he was kind of like a bully, because you're trying so hard to stop him, but you're trying so hard to stop him, so you're being more aggressive. But then when you play aggressive, he knows how to take advantage of that. So he's just a bully out there on the court. And right now, he is not playing like a bully. He is getting bullied out there on the court. So he really needs to, find a way to be productive again. There's been so many games this year where, like I said, he's been trying to do what he's done throughout his whole career and draw fouls on 3-point attempts, do a step back, pump fake, and then defender jumps into him and then he shoots it. But the ref's not calling it this year. And you see it so much after when he feels like he should get a call, but he doesn't. He looks over at the ref and is complaining. Like you can't be playing basketball like that. Another thing that Jay Williams said that I completely agree with is James is looking for contact instead of playing through contact. That there's a big difference between the two. And I kind of saw this throughout, throughout the past decade when James really has become a dominant scorer and we've really been able to see his ability to draw fouls and his, the way he draws fouls and his skill set in that area. Since we've seen the development of that part of his game and just how many times he's been able to get to the free throw line, watching him, I could tell. I would just think, I would be like, man, it seems like James Harden is looking for fouls. He's looking for it at some points. I could tell. I had the feeling that instead of trying to play through the contact and still try and get to the cup or still try to score the basketball, he's looking for fouls. He's looking for fouls. He's looking to get to the free throw line to put up points. He's not looking to get buckets from, just playing the game like on normal possessions. He's looking to get fouled. So that's just something that I was seeing throughout these years, throughout the years since I've been watching James play. I've just been seeing and kind of recognizing that James is looking for fouls during some points of the game. And we can see what that's doing now. We can see how bad of a habit that is because he's used to looking for fouls. He's used to looking for the ref to bail him out pretty much and get to the free throw line. He's looking for that. So he kind of needs to adjust his mindset as we get further and further and further into the year because he can't do what he's doing right now if he wants to win a title. He can't be playing the way that he is right now if he wants to get a ring. He can't. He needs to learn to look to play through the contact instead of looking for it. Like, get to the cup, create contact, try to finish. Try to finish at the rim. Try to score the ball. Don't be trying to create contact and then, look for the foul because as we see now, the refs aren't going to call it. So James needs to be able to create the contact, which he knows how to do. He knows how to create contact. He's one of the best of all time at creating contact. He needs to do that, and then he needs to look to get the bucket instead of looking for the foul call. So I think it's just James Harden needs to adjust to, the way the game is played now. He needs to adjust his play style. And I trust that he will be able to do that. I really hope he does because basketball's a much more fun game to watch when James Harden is doing his thing and performing at, his highest level. So I really hope that he can, get back to his normal, production, get back to the James Harden that we have known for the past decade, and I believe that he will. It's just going to take time and, just a mindset switch on James's part. So I'm looking forward to seeing what, changes James makes to his game um, as the season goes along. So that's it for this video. Go ahead and click on the video on your screen right now. That's my previous video. Go ahead and check that one out. And in the comments, let me know, what kind of topics you would want me to talk about on these videos. Some teams you want me to talk about, some players, and also how you're feeling about James Harden at this point of the season, and what you're seeing from him and how you think he can adjust. So comment that down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.